Are you ready for a deep dive? Earlier today, Deadpool filed a motion to be dismissed from Justin Baldoni's lawsuit that also includes his wife and her publicist. And he came out swinging, making some serious allegations and throwing jabs that hurt against the original director of It Ends With Us. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I do want to cover the highlights, so let's get to it. It says, Blake Lively sued Jamie Heath, Justin Baldoni, It Ends With Us Movie, LLC, Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, Wayfarer Studios, LLC, and Steve Sarowitz after they collectively launched a retaliatory social manipulation campaign to destroy and bury her because she privately spoke up about sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct that she and others experienced on the set of the film It Ends With Us. So, what does Ryan Reynolds have to do with that, legally speaking, other than being a supportive spouse who has witnessed firsthand the emotional, reputational, and financial devastation Miss Lively has suffered? Nothing. Mr. Reynolds is the defendant in this action for one reason and one reason only. Billionaire plaintiff Steve Sarowitz promised to spend up to $100 million to ruin Miss Lively and Mr. Reynolds. The first amended complaint that Sarowitz and his co-plaintiffs filed seeks to fulfill that promise by polluting this court's docket with hundreds of paragraphs of clickbait designed for an audience rather than this court, with virtually no bearing on cognizable legal claims. I don't know if I agree with that assessment. He came through with receipts, proof, timeline, literal timeline. If you know, you know. His motion to dismiss continues. The Wayfarer parties have described the first amended complaint as their most recent attempt to put all the evidence before the court and the public. That is a damning concession given the lack of any actual evidence supporting any legally cognizable claim against Mr. Reynolds. He's suing for extortion, amongst other things. He contributed to that. No? I think so. The Wayfarer party's so-called receipts include annotated excerpts, many with heavy redactions, made by some unidentified person of emails, text messages, videos, and photographs, such as large colored photographs comparing Mr. Reynolds' long hairstyle in a movie with Mr. Baldoni's long style at some point in his real life, alluding to nice pool, inspired by Justin Baldoni. But the first amended complaint is a pleading, not a gossip rag, and these so-called receipts fail to establish the requisite elements of a single one of the many causes of action alleged against Mr. Reynolds. The Wayfarer parties attempt but fail to assert 6 causes of action as to Mr. Reynolds. Each fails to plead facts sufficient to establish a case as a matter of law. For example, the plaintiffs collectively assert a claim for defamation without pleading a single complete statement or identifying the time or place of such statement, nor can they because no such defamatory statement exists. That might be a good point. That is one. That's a good point. This case might be hard for him to win. I think he might win some of his claims and they might win some of theirs because they're suing each other for multiple reasons. Further, the entirety of plaintiff's defamation claim appears to be based on 2 times that Mr. Reynolds allegedly called Mr. Baldoni a predator. But the first amended complaint alleges no plausible facts that suggest Mr. Reynolds did not believe this comment to be true. What I gather is they're trying to make the legal argument that he called him a predator because he is a predator. He believes. Therefore, it's not defamatory in his mind because Justin Baldoni is a predator. Instead, the relevant First Amended Complaint allegations suggest that Mr. Reynolds genuinely, perhaps passionately, believes that Mr. Baldoni's behavior is reflective of a predator. Even if the First Amended Complaint plausibly alleged that Mr. Reynolds called Mr. Baldoni a predator while believing the opposite, which it does not, the law establishes that calling someone a predator amounts to constitutionally protected opinion. I can't argue with that. Calling someone a predator is very different than calling someone a sexual harasser. I like to be fair. I do believe predator is an opinion. Sexual harasser, that's a declarative statement. That's not an opinion, I think. What do you think? And the First Amended Complaint's thin-skinned outrage over a movie character, the satirical woke nice pool, does not even pretend to be tied to any actual legal claims. Instead, it falls into the First Amended Complaint's general allegation of hurt feelings, which in reality is nothing more than a desperate effort to advance the same curated bully image that the Wayfarer parties created and disseminated in the retaliation campaign they launched against Miss Lively in August of 2024. Or the public came to that opinion on their own. All of the other claims fail for similar reasons. The Wayfarer parties say that Mr. Reynolds extorted them, but fail to allege that he received any money or property. She, his wife and frequent collaborator, even on this movie, he rewrote some of the script. She got the movie. She got control of his film. They claim he interfered with a contract without identifying what that contract is, what provisions were allegedly breached, or even which of them were parties to it. They assert $400 million in damages without explaining anything about who suffered that loss, him and his company, in what proportion, as a result of which claims, or what proximately caused such losses. But mostly her. The First Amended Complaint is long on hyperbole, prose, and claims, but devoid of any facts necessary to state ones recognized by law. It is, in essence, a burn book, nice Mean Girls reference, filled with grievances attempting to shame Mr. Reynolds for being the kind of man who is confident enough to listen to the woman in his life and told her anguish and actually stand with her. The First Amended Complaint is in sum a textbook retaliatory slap suit, and it should be dismissed with prejudice. And there's a lot more. I'm going to keep going through this. Check back in a bit for another video in the ongoing saga of It Ends With Us. Until then, when I see you in a little bit, thoughts on his motion? We'll get to more of the motion later, but let's discuss all that we've heard now in the comments section.